What's up, guys? Welcome back. Working on the C10. A few issues with it. We drove it for the first time in the last video, which was super awesome. But after some research and seeing that it doesn't shift, I realized that I had no power going to my transmission. In the 4L80s, if you have no power going to your transmission, the solenoids don't fire, obviously. So then that means that you're stuck in second gear and reverse. So you can still go forward and backward, but you only have reverse and second gear. So what we're gonna do today, I bought a bunch of parts. We're gonna try and get that fixed. So let's get started.
No limits, no ceiling, no crown, no pressure gonna hold me down. No stopping till I break every rule. No limits to what I can do. Nowhere is too far away.
Okay, so my transmission has been leaking a ton. So I bought a few things to try and fix that. I have a new pan that's coming, but here's a new pan seal. I'm gonna do a filter because I'm there. It's leaking out of the yoke gasket there. And then I got a gasket puller just so I don't mess everything up. These are like $6 and they're super easy. And then I'm also leaking out of the transmission plug. So these have a little O-ring. This goes inside the transmission. So we're gonna have to drop the pan, pull all the wires out of the transmission, put some new ones in. Kind of hard to see under here, but the transmission pan, obviously this came out of a junkyard, so this is all smashed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a jack up against this to hold it. We're gonna take all the bolts out, rebend this shield out of the way, get all the bolts out, and drop this whole thing, and hopefully not spill a ton of transmission oil, and then we'll clean it up and start changing all the wires. Did not work at all. Sacrificial towel coming in clutch. Let's see if we can get this out. Did not work at all. Holy. That's probably the biggest fail I've ever had. Okay, finally got this main connector unplugged. There are 4 little clips on each corner or each quarter, and it's a pain in the butt. So you can see these little clips. I ended up just breaking one, I guess, when I was pulling it out. So, yep, this one's toast. So we're gonna start unplugging this wire harness from the solenoids and everything around, get the new one in. Got the transmission pan, filter, wiring harness, everything switched. So next, I'm gonna pull the drive line and replace that rear main yoke seal. And then from there, we'll put everything back together. This seal is the one we got to take out. So I'm gonna get my seal puller, pull that out, put the new one in. Okay, here's the old one we just popped out. Here's the new one. So I'm gonna go pop this in. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in. I'm gonna turn this over like this, and I'm gonna use this to hammer on so I don't mess up this one. It helps if you hold like a piece of wood so you can just push it in evenly. Okay, so I just pulled this magnet off of the bottom of the other pan, cleaned it up, and it's gonna go right there. So make sure you don't forget your magnet if you do switch to a new pan or if your pan gets damaged. This one has a drain plug, so we won't have the fiasco we had draining this one. New pan on, shift linkage hooked back up. That wasn't too bad. Plug plugged in. Make sure you kind of pull it back so that that O-ring seats nice and good. And we should be ready to fill her up with some trans fluid. Okay, so we got everything done. We got the pan in, we got the seals in, all the wires in, and it stopped leaking. I filled it up with fluid, checked it, ran it up to temperature, filled it up to exactly, where it needs to be, 3/4 up the dipstick on the measuring part, and took it around the block. Still doesn't shift. So there's a few things it could be. It could be the solenoids. It could be the ECU and the computer from ACES not talking to each other. It could be a bunch of different things. And the front main seal, the pump, it's called the pump seal, is leaking a ton once you get into RPM. So I actually have to pull the transmission out now and change that seal, which is a bummer. But before I do that, I want to make sure it shifts. So I've been on the phone with ACES and their customer support, trying to figure that out. I need to update my ECU. It's not working. But once I get that updated, we'll take it around the block, see if that fixes it. And if that doesn't fix it, then, we'll pull the pan, pull the transmission, put the new seal in, and change the solenoids at that point and check all the wires to make sure when the key's on that the wires have power going to them. I checked the wire harness coming down, but I didn't check the internal wires. So that would be the next step. But I'm hopeful that once we update the system and get the computer tuned, that I can get it to shift. But that's all I have for this video. Appreciate everybody watching. If you got to this point, it means so much to me. And go ahead and subscribe so we can get this thing done, finished, painted, and out in the desert, and move on to the next project, which I'm hoping is an overland build, because we're gonna go do the Telluride Trail early May. So I need something 4-wheel drive. This isn't 4-wheel drive, so that means I gotta build something else. So go ahead and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.